So I get asked this a lot. Do you prefer men or women? And I'm always saying, well, it's a bit complicated as a bisexual man person. And I think a lot of people just kind of like assume that I have a favorite. But I never really feel like I'm able to explain it in its fullness. So I'm making a video and I'm going to try and answer as honestly and authentically as I possibly can. Just before I do, I'm talking about men and women in general. Inevitably, it's going to include non-binary people and people of gender diversity. But, you know, I just mean men and women in general, okay? So I'll try my best. So I think what happened with me was that it changes. It really, really does. I'm fluid, okay? So I can never quite decide. And what I realized reflecting on this video is I think it's kind of gone in stages. So like when I was super, super young, I preferred girls. Definitely. I didn't really know about guys, you know, because I lived in a hetero world. So I remember having really close bonds of like love with girls. And I felt very kind of seen and safe and validated. And I felt like I was the boy and she was the girl and we were a couple and everyone was like, oh, that's cute. So definitely in my early life, I really preferred girls. So then what happened is that when I was about 10 years old, 8, 9, 10, I kind of started getting left out by a lot of the boys. Some of my more feminine traits were coming to the fore, and that was very dangerous for the other boys, and so they kind of rejected me and pulled away from me. And what happened there was I started to feel a separation with the boys, and therefore this desire to be with them, this desire to be accepted, this desire to be kind of loved and brought in again into the masculine. And with girls, I started to feel less like a boy and actually more like one of the girls. So girls became a little more platonic and boys became a little bit more like other. So then as I grew older, I kind of had my first proper girlfriend. And although it wasn't fully sexual experience, it was an amazing experience. So I fell in love with a girl and I really enjoyed everything about that. It was incredible. I was emotionally connected, physically connected. I loved kissing her. I loved holding hands with her. We had some very intimate moments. We didn't have kind of like full sex or anything, but it was, you know, everything was very exciting. So I loved that, and I was like, wow, this is incredible. It was so natural to me, and I was like, wow. What happened after that was, as I kind of grew in more to my kind of teens, I started realizing there were other sexual things that I could do, and there was a kind of hypersexual element to my attraction to guys. Women seemed to be more kind of like romantic. It was more of a whole, satisfying, emotional thing. But there was this kind of naughty, kind of forbidden element of the idea of masculine sexuality. And it was very, very subversive and secret. And I think that secrecy kind of intensified it. And so it became this thing like, ooh, it's the great unspoken excitement, right? And plus, male to male intimacy seemed very much easier to attain, because with girls I felt very low self-esteem, and it was very complicated, all of the restrictions and rules that you have to follow. So getting with guys, it was kind of like, well, it's just the lads, you know, because I was one, so I got it. So it was easier. Then I had my first sexual experiences with men, and an interesting thing happened. So I actually hated it. I really thought that I would like it, and I didn't. So the fantasy was great in my head, But when it came down to it, I was so turned off. And it was a few times actually that this happened. It wasn't just one bad experience. There were fine experiences. I just realized that actually the reality of it, I really, really didn't like. So for me, kind of men have this very like theoretical attraction, but when it actually comes down to it, it's not always as great as I had imagined. So I kind of moved away from guys a little bit, and this is when I was kind of like into my late teens and early 20s, and I went to university. It was like a new phase in my life, and I started to have kind of sexual relationships with women, and I realized that I was actually valid with them, and I started to build my self-worth a little bit. And I met some fabulous women who really loved me for me and were attracted to me for me. And I started to explore that and realize that I could have sex with women, I could have relationships with women, and that, you know, women could be fun and didn't have to be that serious romantic love all of the time. That I could be playful with women and have fun. And that was great. I was like, okay, right, I'm rekindling this thing that I used to have, and the sexual part of it is enjoyable. So I felt really, really good for that time. But I was still not out. And so men, although I kind of knew I didn't really fancy getting with guys, in reality, they maintained this mystique, right? And I was growing into being independent. I was living away from home. So, you know, I was like an adult. And so it was possible for me to actually have experiences with men. But these were taking place mainly in secret. And so there was this big charge attached to it, where it was like, here is my straight life. It's a nice straight life, but there's this other thing. So as time went on, men developed this very kind of exciting edge to them as well. But as I had more experiences with women and men, I kind of realized that they were both okay, you know, and I started to break down the concept of like, is it men or women? And I started just to think about, well, is this person nice? Do I like this person? Like, is this experience one that I enjoy? So into my 20s, it started to really break down. Then I was dating women more, and I was getting kind of a bit bored with dating women. I was able to have experiences with men, but I wasn't dating men because I still wasn't out. Then it all changed when I met the love of my life. I was totally transformed by that experience. I met the most fabulous woman in the entire world. Fell head over heels in love with her. I was so insanely attracted to her. She was attracted to me, and I just felt like, well, this is amazing. This is perfect. Physically, emotionally, spiritually connected. It was just everything. And so as that experience went on, I just grew deeper and deeper in my confidence that, you know, this was for me. But of course, being in a monogamous relationship, once again, you know, there's always that alternative. And I think as bi people, there's always that what if. It's like, oh, well, you know, what if I had lived a kind of gay life or whatever? What if I'd chosen to be with a man? Like, what would that be like? All these intrusive thoughts come in, like, you know, are you really valid? Like, what if? And blah, blah. And one of the amazing things that happened was that when I was in that relationship, my female partner actually was a queer woman herself and encouraged and empowered and inspired my queerness. So she accepted my queerness, which was amazing, which made me even more attracted to her. And she also encouraged me to explore and to understand and to validate my queer side. And so what that meant was that the mystique of men, that dangerous, naughty, bad, shameful connection that I had with men, the wind was taken out of that sail. I knew that I was loved, I was validated to the person that I wanted to be with, and that she loved and validated all sides of me. So there was never this kind of like, oh, what if? Or like, oh, I want to go out and like get with men. No. It was completely allowed and nurtured and welcomed, and it was just amazing. And so what it taught me is that I am lovable and I am unique and I am a great person with so much to give. And now I just see myself as a human being, and I see other people as human beings, and I really just feel very kind of almost like pansexual. You know, I don't discriminate, and I genuinely love to meet someone and to experience everything that they are. And what that allows me to do is to also experience everything that I am. I am not just one thing. I'm not just man. I'm not just woman. I'm not just masc. I'm not just femme. I'm everything. And I love myself, all of myself, my femme traits, my masc traits, my body, what it can do, what it's capable of. And I love to meet people who are also in that energy, who just come and meet me for who I am. So in sum, I guess both, all, everything, it's changed. If you're thinking about which one you prefer, that's cool. It's very natural. If you'd like to come and speak with me, then come and join our Patreon. I will post the link below. You can speak with me. You can speak with other people who are, understanding of this issue, or you can click the join button right at the right-hand side of this video. If you would like to hear more about my feelings on men and women, then check out this video. Otherwise, I will speak to you again very soon. Thank you so much for listening. Bye for now.